Good morning to our respected lecturer, Azizul Hafiz bin Jama'in. So today we are from Group Mike. We'll represent our group assignment 2, which is changing roles of manager from conventional role in public sector to new public management, which so-called NPM. We will discover of contracting out service, commercialization, privatization, and competitive tendering and contract. This is the subtopic under Learning Unit 11. So we will move to the introduction, which will be presented by me, Shafina binti Zainal. So for the introduction, over the past decades, public sector management has changed from conventional public administration to modern public management, which so-called as NPM or managerialization and governance. The emerge of philosophy of business and competition in management reinforced the notion of customer orientation, moving from the conventional administration with an emphasis on the profession, employment, public servant independence, and bureaucratic authority system to modern public management with an emphasis on entrepreneurship and commercialization on other public sector principles. It is suggests that evolving structure of management on the public sector inevitably has consequences for public sector leadership. Manager and analysts have to Managers and analysts have to react to this new development. So in this assignment, we will discover the changing roles of manager from the traditional roles to the modern roles, which we call as new public management. So for the next presentation, my friends will explain more on the subtopic of this assignment. So let's move to the next slide.
Privatization can be defined as transferring ownership, good or company from the government to the private sector. The mechanism in which a public corporation is owned over by a few individuals is often called privatization. Can entail either selling government held property or lifting restriction that prohibit private individual and company from investing in a given industry. Supporters argue that competition in the private sector encourages competitive activity that inevitably deliver quality service and good, reduce costs and less corruption.
Competitive tendering and contract, CTC. Process of selecting a chosen provider from a list of possible contractors by finding an offer of tender and assessing them on the basis of one or more preferred criteria. Characteristic of CTC. First, requires specifically identifying the program to be offered. Second, it includes the occasional opening up of their delivery to competition from external suppliers. Benefit of CTC. 1. Improve versatility in service delivery. Second, enable public sector management to focus on business goals. 3. Empower vendor to implement new innovation. 4. Cost reduction in service delivery. An open CTC will ensure a fair platform for all prospective suppliers to compete in order to maintain a fair field in public sector jobs, since less workers are expected to perform complex activity. Scheme for CTC build on operate the infrastructure by changing tolls and then after an agreed period transfer the ownership to the state without the state having to incur debt. This scheme is based on the concept of encouraging private operators to achieve a return on investment under the user pay theory.
Next, I will present about the changing roles in contracting of service, commercialization, privatization, and CTC in different countries, which my part in Malaysia. For Malaysia, in the mid-1980s, like many other nations, the Malaysian government adopted the NPM ideology in order to enhance its organizational effectiveness and trying to overcome such as inefficiency and ineffectiveness. Some examples of the different practices and approaches introduced are: one, total quality management (TQM), two, quality control circle (QCC), three, Malaysia Incorporated Policy, Service Recovery System, Client Charters, ISO 9000, Quality Management Standards, Public-Private Partnership, privatization, outsourcing, and online public services.
Just like any other country, Bangladesh also transformed the public administration from the traditionals to the new public management system, which is to renovate the traditional public administration system that was archaic, anti-people, and inefficient. After the independence, different Bangladesh government attempts to incorporate the element of NPM model in the public administrations through the reform initiative. And then after the paradigm change, the size of the public sector enterprise has decreased significantly. Public administration Public administration's decentralizations at the grassroots level is seen only in the context of infrastructure development, not in the areas of decision-making, preparations, and distributions of resources or outsourcing. At present, Bangladesh public service system is overly centralized, unaccountable, inefficient, underpaid, cohesive, unethical, rent-seeking, and non-transparent. Therefore, the reform attempt should incorporate the elements of the NPM model in public administrations that are the rigid, hierarchical, bureaucratic form of civil service which has predominated for last few decades after the independence should be changed to a flexible, people and service-oriented and market-responsive ones.
So next, as we move on to the next slide, this is regarding CTC in Colombia. So as you can see, there are two laws that have been passed. And the firstly is Law 80, where Public Administration General Statute on Government Contracting has been passed. That is the first law. And then that's the second law, that is Law 100, which includes goals that require universal access, increase productivity in the provision of healthcare facilities, and the guarantee of an acceptable standard of quality. Then there's the government progress, where the latest insurance policy and health sector improvements have been gradually turned into a demand-driven subsidy scheme. Then there's the thriving private healthcare sector in Colombia, where the creative strategy of Colombia that focused on controlled competition, which demanded little emphasis on private contractors' capacity building.
Okay, thank you. Next is the conclusion. Public sector administration and management has been under a lot of pressure for change over the past few decades. New public management and government ideas are something incorporated by observer and observe the extent of change in the public sector and assume that all reform are part of the same dynamic of change. While those change may have some beneficial aspect, they may also have some detrimental aspect and that may be exaggerated when the interaction are not understood. There are a number of important challenges for manager and professional arising from safety mechanism and style of public service delivery, accountability, and wise handling emerging as center of change observable. Thank you. That's all from my group. Thank you.
That one.